This is the MHS Pawdcast, the online radio voice of Metuchen High School.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Metuchen High School Podcast. I'm Eddie Kalegi here with Julia Hirschfield. We have a great show planned for you today. We'll first be joined by Miss Harmon, who's an English teacher here and also the director of the fall play. We have her on every year before the fall play. This year it's virtual, but she'll be here to preview that. It's just a few weeks away. And then me and Josh Hyman will get you geared up for all of the state playoff games this week in sports, both soccer teams and field hockey in action at home in state playoff games this week. But before all that, here are the announcements from Julia Hirschfield.
Thank you, Eddie. First, a reminder that there is a 12:30 early dismissal next Wednesday, November 25th, before being off that Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. Mr. Paragallo would like to thank everyone who participated in last week's MHS Thanksgiving food drive. Lots of donations were received. Underclassmen pictures will be taken on December 10th and 11th between 3 and 8 p.m. in the cafeteria. More information can be found on the school website. All seniors have been emailed a link on their school accounts to mark down their cap and gown measurements for graduation. If you have not done so yet, please fill out the form as soon as possible. Finally, registration for this year's virtual Jingle Bell Run is now available. Head over to jbr.org/New Jersey for more information and to sign up. That's all for announcements. Back to you, Eddie.
Thank you, Julia. Let's get into our interview now with Ms. Harmon. Though several events have been postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic, obviously there's been some changes for the Footlighters and the fall musical, but it's still happening and it's happening virtually. To talk about it, we have her on every year before the fall play. It's great to be joined by MHS English teacher and fall play director, Ms. Harmon. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So before we get to the play, I have to ask you, as I ask every teacher, just how have you been doing with the remote learning, the instruction, and just overall you and your family through the coronavirus pandemic?
Oh, thanks for asking, Eddie. I've been doing fine, hanging in there just like so many people, I think. And as far as teaching goes, it's just been like all of us with students, teachers, parents. You take everything you normally are doing and just trying to turn it all over and make it go virtual. And but I've been doing fine with that. And then also, of course, we're doing that with the play.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how did you and the Footlighters exactly come up with the idea of putting on a virtual performance?
Yes, after the spring, Ms. Krumholtz and I felt pretty strongly because we didn't, as so many schools, our play was canceled, Legally Blonde canceled like 2 weeks before everybody was ready to go. We really wanted to do a production. We felt it's very important and to do that. So what's interesting is that many of the companies that rent shows are turning everything over as well, just like all of us. And they are very quickly beginning to make available shows that can be filmed and edited. There's a lot of copyright issues that I think we learn about it a lot in theater, and that a lot of people, audience members, might not be aware of, that you're not allowed to be filming things or cutting things when you perform them. There's a lot of rules involved. So what they've done is they have made shows available that you can do our show is going to look like our Zoom classrooms look. We're going to see people on screen. And many times I think you see it on TV, you see performers and they're wearing their earbuds and they're all tiles on the screen. That's how our virtual fall production is going to look. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. So obviously rehearsal for this has been completely different than any other play before. What have been the most difficult aspects for you as a director throughout this whole process?
Yes, I think the two most difficult things, first of all, is this turnover that we were just saying. It's happening right now, that we're just getting information from the companies about what we're allowed to do. And we had to wait longer than normal to get the rights, etc., and get the materials. All the materials now, we have some hard copies of things. We basically are doing hybrid is what it is. Some things are in hard copy, but there's all these virtual materials with passcodes and all kinds of things that we have to be sharing with the students. We're just getting used to it. I know for the spring, Ms. Krumholtz is going to be much, we're now used to it now, but it was a rush to do that. So that was the first thing. And then the hardest thing actually about doing play is the issue with sound. As you guys know, and if any people who are singers and musicians, it is very difficult to work together to coordinate sound and timing and sound. If those of students in class know it, from just when we're talking on a Zoom or a Meet, there's often lag if someone's internet is different, etc. So that is the most difficult thing. And we're dealing with how do we film just doing a scene. But we've got a lot of different techniques that we're using. We're using phones, we're using earbuds, we're using devices. We have all these devices set all over everywhere, and we keep switching them around. And so we're patching it together, and it's interesting. And it would be even more interesting if we felt like, had a little more time. But so we're making sure that we're getting it done. But we're getting it done. Mm-hmm.
So I think everybody at home is wondering, what's the play about? Could you tell us why students should go and see it?
Yes, the play is called The Drowsy Chaperone, and it deliberately has kind of a little bit of an odd name. It's about a man played by Abi Dodopaneni, and he's just called the man. He's like an everyman, and he's kind of, you get the sense, maybe a little bit lonely, lives by himself, and he has a record player, and he starts talking to the audience right away and sharing with them his favorite musical. He's thrilled, he loves musicals, right? And he puts the record on, and as the record comes on, the whole play comes to life. And it's very 1920s. It's kind of a cross between Great Gatsby and Chicago, but it's really funny. And we've got gangsters and flappers, and we're doing costumes. You will not see elaborate sets. We're going to be more virtual. We're going to be playing around with film and background, but everybody's all dressed up, and the play comes to life. And it's very funny. And it's actually, and it's a musical. And a musical that I think really all ages will love. Older audience members will totally get, like, so many of the jokes are pitched to all ages, but I think kids will also enjoy the music, really fun music. We're actually doing some choreography. There is dancing and singing. And anyway, the musical comes to life, and we get very involved in this crazy, fun 1920s musical.
Sounds like a lot of fun. So when are the performances, and how can tickets be purchased?
Yes, so far, maybe by the time the podcast goes up, it will be there, but you want to watch our website. We will also make sure that the information is put out for, on the school website, et cetera. It'll be out there so people can find it. It's December 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which is the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday after Thanksgiving. And there will be a website that you go to and you click on to get virtual tickets. And then you sign on just to watch the show virtually on your night. And the tickets are $12. And I believe, I'm sorry to be vague about this, but I'm thinking that you'll get your ticket to sign on. So it'll be $12 for the family, I think. I'm not sure if they'll make you do individual tickets. We'll find out. You'll see when you go on. We appreciate any money that you give us, because that will help us with the spring. We are doing the spring as well. And as with everybody, we're going to see, how will we be hybrid? Are we going to be virtual? We're hoping as we move into the spring, we can do, as you know, a little more of some in-person things, but definitely we're going to be doing a show in the spring as well.
Well,
so
great.
On the website, you'll click and you'll find ticket information. Mm-hmm.
Well, definitely great to hear, and it's great to see all the hard work you guys are putting together to make sure that there is a fall play, even if it has to be in this virtual setting. Ms. Harmon, thanks so much for coming on, and best of luck through these next couple of weeks up towards the performances.
Yes, thanks you guys. Thanks so much.
All right, so when we come back, Josh and I will recap and get into everything with fall sports, including this week's state playoff matchups. This is the Metuchen High School Podcast, the online radio voice of MHS.
Having trouble seeing the board in class? Do you need safety glasses for your school sport? If you answered yes to either of these questions, head over to Optique Unique, the eyeglass store at 406 Main Street in Metuchen. Optique Unique does it all. Not only do they offer eyewear for all ages, they also sell sports-specific safety glasses for kids and adults. Call them at 732-321-2020. That's 732-321-2020, or visit OptiqueUnique.com. Do you want to build character, build confidence, or even build yourself? All that and more can be accomplished at the Black Belt Institute at 23 New Street, right here in Metuchen. Students of all ages have been able to learn respect, discipline, fitness, and self-defense from their experienced instructors for over 20 years. Whether you're an adult looking for stress reduction or know someone young who has interest in Taekwondo, the Black Belt Institute is the place to go. The Institute takes a fun approach at teaching the rules of self-defense, instilling in their students an I-can-do-it attitude. Interested in taking a class? Call them at 732-205-9797 or visit their website at blackbeltinst.com. Once again, that's 732-205-9797 or blackbeltinst.com. The Black Belt Institute, Metuchen's leader in martial arts and fitness.
We're back on the MHS Podcast. I'm Josh Hyman alongside Eddie Kalegi. It's state playoffs week for several Metuchen teams, so we're here to get you all set for the action. Before we get into this week's postseason action, what happened for other MHS sports teams last week?
Well, the first fall sports team that has concluded their season is the girls' tennis team. Their season came to an end last week. It was a pretty good one. They made it to the finals in their group Central East D, but they fell to New Providence 4-1 in that match. But we've talked about them throughout the year. They've kind of floated below the radar, but it was a good year for the girls' tennis program. They finished the year overall 7-2, and they've won a couple of playoff games. So all in all, a great year for them. Second thing, cross country wrapped up their year with sectionals this past Saturday. Really good for the girls, solid for the boys as well. But we'll start with the girls because they placed second overall in CJ Group 2. And they dealt with a lot of injuries this season. They were kind of going back and forth between different fifth runners because typically for cross country you have 5 central runners. They were going back and forth between who their fifth runner was due to injury. So to battle through that and through everything with the virus and everything and still succeed to get second in CJ Group 2 is great. And how about junior Caroline Schlieff, who's taken on a major role on this team? They've had a lot of runners graduate, like Camille Lucier, who headed to Bucknell 2 years ago. Schlieff has taken on a new role as a key leader on this team. She was the sectional champion runner, so great for her. As for the boys, they placed 5th overall, so top 5. Good showing for the boys and Coach Holleran. They were led by seniors Thomas Kwok, Romeo Anand, Jai Dreher, all of whom were really strong on this team through all 4 years in high school and hoping to do more in winter and spring track. Juniors, Tanuj Gupta and Josh Byrne, and sophomores, June Gestlin and Janu Dreher. And lastly, the football team, we were there doing the PA, botching names and having fun. But in the end, Bodie Dunn ran all over Metuchen and their quarterback, Ryan.
Want to run over Metuchen, that's for sure. Unfortunately for the boys.
Yeah, it was a tough one for Metuchen. They did have a nice bright spot, though. AJ Perillo had an 89-yard kick return touchdown. It was their only score of the game, but you know what? It's something. 41-7 was the loss, and it's tough to get hyped up for the football team, but this Saturday, I do have some anticipation about this game because they're playing Denellen, who also comes in winless, and Metuchen went to Denellen last year and beat them 18-12. It's the same quarterback matchup as last year. Mia Lishan's still QB here in Metuchen. So I think there is a chance. They have lost 10 straight games dating back to last season. I remember when we were talking last year, the Bulldogs started 3-2, and we were getting really excited. But then when the brunt of the schedule came in, it's tough. And you got to – I know they haven't won a game, but you still got to credit Coach Jensen because he doesn't have a lot to work with, frankly, because this is not a town that has a huge football program in the first place. I mean, Pop Warner is here, but it's not that central in this town compared to other local towns and municipalities. And just what we were talking about the other day, the fact that this team has gone from having only 16 kids and having a pretty negative article written in the New York Times about our program 2 years ago to battle back and to be putting up a fight against certain teams that, we know we know there's better teams in this division. We saw it with St. Thomas Aquinas a couple of weeks ago, but really would be cool for them to finish off the season on a high note against Denellen, home game. And, it was great last Saturday as well because there was the senior section at the game. So actually had some students watching. It was the first time we actually had a student section at a sporting event since the basketball games back in early March before everything set in. So It was great to see some students there. It got really loud when the Metuchen scored that touchdown on the Perillo return. So hoping for the best and hoping they can finally get the donut out of the win column on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was really great to see, the enthusiasm and energy in that stadium, even though our football team hasn't been the greatest performers of all time. It's still nice to see that everyone from the town is getting out there, supporting the boys and, having a good time. And that's really a lot of the important stuff about it, is just bringing the town together, especially in these difficult times. And like you said, there was a lot of energy there, so that's great. And I want to kind of take it back to the girls tennis team. I don't know if you noticed this, but their three last games for the championship, they were all back to back to back. And I can tell you from experience, playing back to back games on back to back days, it's not easy. It's very demanding. It's a lot on your mind. It's a lot on your body. And to do that three times and win two games, I think that's very impressive. So I have to commend the girls for that. And obviously, the Metuchen cross country team needs no introduction here. They blew it out of the water as always, and it's always great to see them doing well. Always great to see them getting their underclassmen ready to take over for the graduating class. So it's really good to see that they're doing that again this year. And the field hockey team kicks off their state playoff run Tuesday against New Egypt. Does this team have the potential to finally overcome the past struggles in their state postseason?
Just briefly, I just want to touch one more time on the tennis thing with the back-to-back games. I think it's even harder this year because there's been so many stoppages and it's a shortened schedule. There's less games. You're kind of not in the framework of sometimes, not even playing every other day. So it's even more difficult with, 3 in a row. But shifting to field hockey, I mean, they've done everything they needed to do. If this season there was a GMC title, they likely would have won their 4th straight. They're a perfect 8-0. They just got to keep up what they've been doing. Now is the time, once again, that I've seen this field hockey team falter in the state playoffs. And last year it was against a tough Point Pleasant Borough team that they were not expected to win against. But this was either my freshman or my sophomore year. There was a game. It was the first round of the state playoffs against Glen Ridge, who was 7-8-1. And Metuchen could not take the lead until there was, I think, 4 minutes left in the game. So, and they were 15-1 that year in the GMC. So that's always the tough thing, that there's a history of this team playing down to their opponents because they're kind of, lulled into a sense of security playing against GMC opponents. But I mean, this is the best. I think this is the best all-around team they've had in the 4 years. Noelle Leaf, first of all, shout out to her. Congratulations. She's heading to Rutgers University to play field hockey. She just signed this past weekend officially to head there for her next 4 years. But 16 goals in 8 games, that's 2 goals per game. And the thing they have to focus on, because obviously she's the leader of this team, and obviously New Egypt is going to game plan to try to defend her. And Metuchen's got to work it around to other people. They definitely have capable people out there, Isabel Weiner, Elizabeth Lackland, Claire Kenny, just to name a few, who could really step up on the offensive end because, New Egypt's going to come in focused on Leaf. And New Egypt is a tough team. I think compared to their first-round matchups in past years, this might be their most difficult because New Egypt is 8-2, but they have scored at least 4 times in all 8 of their games this season, and they have not allowed more than 3 goals in a game all year. So they got a great goalie. They've got a great offense that can make things happen. I'm expecting a high-scoring game. I'm excited to be calling it for the podcast. Honestly, I don't know when this is going up, so this might actually be airing after the game, which is a little ironic. But regardless, should be a great one, and it's going to be live on Twitter and the MHS Podcast, so excited to be doing it. But I think the field hockey team's got a real chance. The last 3 years, I think they've all been building up to this point, and I think this is the season they can finally break through in state playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree with that. And you mentioned how New Egypt is definitely going to try and lock down Noelle Leaf. Fortunately for Metuchen, though, they do have other options, like you said. Isabel Weiner, Elizabeth Lackland, Skylar Pearsall, just to name a few kids. And, I'm looking at the results right now. We got 7-1, 4-1, 4-0, 6-4, 4-2. Their offense is definitely there. I think, and their defense as well, as you can see from the scores, they definitely do have everything in place right now to go far into this tournament. And like you said, it's all a matter of, can they just not choke this time? They have a spectacular team. They've gone up against some pretty tough opponents. Like Monroe almost gave them a run for their money. South Plainfield did as well. I think it's just, how can you just keep pushing, keep persevering as the days get shorter and the season gets longer. It's all about that willpower. It's all about that mental fortitude, because we've seen it. These girls can win. They've had no problem doing it. They're undefeated. It's just how much further can you go? Because, in the postseason, record doesn't matter. Past games, just forget about them. Every team is competing to win, and they're just going to go all hands on deck, firing on 8 cylinders, and you just got to be ready for that. None of those games are going to be given to you. There are no second chances, and it's going to be tough. And I think we're just going to see how badly these girls want to win. And I think they do have a chance. Like you said, they have the teammates, they have the defense, they have everything waiting for them. It's just, if they want to, it's just a question of, do they want to put in the effort to win? And moving on, the girls soccer team has already won their postseason debut and are set for a home game Wednesday against rival South Plainfield. What will be the keys to victory?
Well, how about this, matching up in the state playoffs against one of your biggest rivals? That doesn't happen often, so that's going to be interesting. But the girls soccer team has been doing so well this year. They've outperformed expectations. I thought they were starting to come back to the pack, as they were 3-2-1, but since then they've won 8 of their 9 games. They won 7 of their last 8 regular season games to finish the regular season 10-3-1. And once again, this team has one major leader. That's Marin Boucher, the junior, who leads the team in goals and assists. But against Arthur L. Johnson High School from Clark in the first round of the state playoffs this past weekend, it was a pretty solid performance, because they spread the love around. Marin Boucher had a goal, Alexandra Lipschitz had a goal, Erin Eustace had a goal, and Charlotte Breen had an assist, and Nika Rockefeller with 7 saves in goal. All 5 of those players are going to be key in this attack, because once again, against a team like South Plainfield, you can't rely on just one person. That being said, their one matchup against South Plainfield, Marin Boucher had a hat trick, and they won 7-3. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but definitely the trends are in the right direction for them to repeat. And with the amount of momentum they're carrying right now, they might be in a perfect spot to reach the group semis.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, definitely plenty of goal scorers to go around. And that's always a good thing. You don't want to be relying on one person. And unfortunately, I think the boys soccer team has had trouble with that. But I think with their performance today, they have solid defense, a solid goalie, and they have offensive firepower. I think these girls are in a good spot to go far in the tournament, and maybe we will see a win. Who knows? But yeah, it's always hard playing against a rival, playing against a team you beat very badly in the beginning of the season, because you go in and you're expecting to get an easy win like that again. But the early in the season is so much different than late in the season, because teams will completely change. They'll change their strategy, they'll change their fitness, they'll change everything, and it's just, you cannot think of it as the same opponent. If these girls go in thinking it's going to be the same South Plainfield team from October 21st, they're going to be in for a real shock. So they really have to come out with their, they have to come out on their toes, heads on a swivel. They just need to be prepared for whatever is going to come to them.
Yeah, so shifting gears, this is actually probably the final time I'm going to ask you, but as a member of the boys soccer team, you guys also have a state playoff game coming up this week. So I don't know, just what are you guys looking for in this state playoff game, and what do you think your chances are?
Well, obviously we want to win. We want to win first time since 2009. And, looking at our season, we've had a very, very solid season. We've had a few high-scoring games. A bit of a concern, the last 3 were losses. But the thing is, with those, we were kind of just, they did not count for the record. So we were kind of just experimenting a bit, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't, kind of
Some tough
ironing.
opponents too, I imagine. I know you guys were playing Edison too. Like,
Yeah, Edison, Sayreville, South Plainfield. They were pretty tough. Yeah. So it is a bit concerning that we lost 3 in a row going into the state tournament. However, the guys have been working just tremendously hard in practice, and Coach Albanese has been doing everything he can to get these guys into shape and to get ready for the game tomorrow at versus Spotswood. We've been looking at a bunch of tape. We've been looking at strategies, everything. And another good thing to note is that Justin Wetnick is back in midfield. He was missing for the last few games, which maybe can explain some of the difficulty that our team has been having. But our back line is looking solid. Goalies are looking great. We got Justin back, and we're going up against a Spotswood team who we did beat in the past. And we kind of know the ins and outs of their strategy. So hopefully we can get a win tomorrow. And I think it is very possible if we just keep working, if we keep at it, we could definitely win. I think it is definitely within the realm of possibility here, because we have a great group of guys, we have a great coach, and I don't think anybody on this boys soccer team is just going to give up. I don't think that's really in their nature. I've been with these guys since August, and it's just been nonstop, constant hard work, determination. And I remember back in August, we were talking about what goals do we want to accomplish this season. We heard things like win the division, go undefeated. And, I remember one person saying, I want to win states. And, this has been in our minds since we started doing fitness on the field back in August. So, this isn't just some fluke thing that happened. We have been working towards this goal for such a long time now. And I really do think we have a shot at winning.
great to hear. So lots of action all week. And then it culminates with the football final home game on Saturday against Denellen. So lots to be excited about in Metuchen High School sports. One more thing I just want to talk about with you, because Governor Murphy put out some new legislation today. He discussed limiting outdoor and indoor gatherings down to 125, indoor down to 10. But for now, he's saying that essential personnel for high school sports practices and competitions don't fit into that indoor category. So he's kind of tiptoeing on the line right now. Supposedly there's going to be more information in the next few days about, the feasibility of winter sports. But as a winter athlete, just what do you see at this point as, the potential that we get a winter season in the winter, or do we have to, push things back a little bit?
Yeah, so I don't know about the other winter sports, but I know indoor track is definitely trying to do something. Right now it is going to happen. I've been talking to Mr. Holleran about it. But unfortunately with, this whole COVID stuff changes every single day. There's new news, new regulations and stuff like that every single day. So hopefully we're good about it. Hopefully we can still get a winter season and a normal one, or as normal as it can be. But as of right now, I think things are looking good for at least track. I can't say anything for wrestling or swim, but who knows? Anything could change at this point. It's, getting crazy and erratic. Things are changing daily now. So I don't know, but like I said, hopefully it's looking good for right now. So I have high hopes for winter season, at least for track.
Mm-hmm. And you're telling me because typically the track meets, especially the big ones, there's just tons of schools in the bubble in Toms River or at Ocean Breeze and Staten Island. But you're saying this year it's really just dual meets that are on the table.
Yeah. We almost never do dual meets in the winter, but it's going to be something we have to do if we want to get any sort of competition, because the bubble is great and all, but it's not very good in terms of ventilation or space. So, you kind of have to work with what you got. But, I definitely do feel lucky because a lot of other schools and a lot of other states aren't doing this. So I think it's great that we're actually getting at least something. And, anything to give the freshmen and underclassmen a chance to compete, chance to practice, and a chance to, find the sport. So I'm actually very happy about this, and I can't really complain.
Yeah, and Governor Murphy, and I know he's been big on restrictions, but he's fought really hard for sports since the beginning, all the way back in July when he allowed that statewide Last Dance World Series to happen. So, I mean, it's going to be tough. We saw hurdles in the fall season, and like you said, I mean, safety's a priority, and things are changing every day. But for right now, things seem to be on track, and Phil Murphy reaffirmed that indoor practices and competitions are still allowed despite the recent guidelines. So, for Josh as an athlete and me as a broadcaster and a high school sports fan, I'm hoping we can see some action this winter. But that's going to wrap up today's program. Thank you to Ms. Harmon for joining us earlier to preview the upcoming virtual fall play. For Joe Stibich, Julia Hirschfield, and Josh Hyman, I'm Eddie Kalegi. Wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. We'll be back after Thanksgiving. This is the Metuchen High School Podcast, the online radio voice of MHS.